dear in the hearts of all the bad guys out there, and that is our Attorney General, Letitia James. Melinda Katz. Got to know her very well as the borough president, knows every corner of every street corner. She knows every dumpster. She knows she knows everything about this great community known as Queens, and I want to thank her for her willingness to continue in public service and to be an extraordinary district attorney. Let's give it up for Melinda Katz, our Attorney General. And when you think labor, you think building, you think things getting done, you think Gary LaBarbera. What a great partner he's been. Thank you, Gary. Thank you. And our Commissioner of Department of Labor, Roberta Reardon, who is tirelessly seeking out ways to lift up the lives of all the working men and women of our state, and what a great job she did during COVID and in our post-COVID world. Let's give it up for Roberta Reardon. And the chair of the Senate Labor Committee, Senator Jessica Ramos. I want to thank her for participating here today. So today, we begin an extraordinary journey, continue an extraordinary journey to make sure that we're cracking down on wage theft. And I said when I first became governor and as part of our State of the State address that my goal every single day is to make sure that we make New York State the best place to live, to work, to raise families, and to hold down a good union job, and make sure that we lift up the men and women who call New York home. So we have what we call not just the American dream here, we have what we call affectionately the New York dream. And in continuance of that dream, we have to work every single day. It doesn't just happen. And I know it's been hard for families. You know, the rising cost of everything, your groceries, your gasoline, the rent, everything that you just feel like, when's it going to stop? And so we're very sensitive to the pressures that are on everyday families and workers across our state, so much of it out of their control. But most importantly, what gets you through this is your paycheck. And that paycheck means everything to you. That paycheck is the difference between survival and thriving, the difference it can make for your family, and whether or not you can afford to buy that new pair of sneakers or be able to go on maybe a little vacation. And so every penny matters in that paycheck. Every paycheck counts. And so when someone steals from your paycheck, they're literally stealing from you. They're stealing from your family. They're stealing from your kids. So this is deeply rooted in all of us, that there should be a strong sense of fairness. You show up, you work hard, you put in your time, and you should get every single penny that you are owed. And if you're not, it's like mugging you on the street. They're taking something away that is yours. And the consequences could mean falling behind in your rent, having that insecurity when your kids look to you to no wonder, can we afford to make this purchase for them or not? You don't want to live like that. So it's a fairness issue, as I mentioned. And there are too many people, vulnerable populations in particular, who don't know their rights, who don't have someone to champion for them, who are taken advantage of by unscrupulous employers. And they also get a competitive advantage if they're not paying someone properly over the other good actors out there, the workers who are, or the employers who are following the rules. So it's not fair to anyone. So we have zero tolerance for these unscrupulous individuals. We will not allow this to continue. And that's why we made sure that we had a mechanism in place, what we called the New York's Wage Theft Task Force. And we need them now more than ever. As I mentioned, the rising cost of living, every single penny matters. And this task force has been working tirelessly to make sure that no one is denied their rightful paycheck, their rightful income. And it's a real partnership. This is what we love to do in state government. It's a partnership between the state, Department of Labor, our Attorney General's office, who brings to bear all the weight of her power and the resources from her office across the state. Every corner of the state is covered by the Attorney General's office, as well as teaming up with district attorneys, people like Melinda Katz and district attorneys who are actually on the ground. You know, the crimes are committed, they've reported to the local entities, and they're the ones who often are the first to be aware of it. So the whole objective is to recover the stolen wages, make sure that it doesn't happen again, and that there are consequences from those thieves who've done just that. So this is how we're going to crack down on a crime, and it is a crime. And it hits the construction industry hard. Gary knows this. We've talked about this a lot. But we're also expanding it. There are other areas, the restaurant industry, even car washes and landscaping, nursing. There are a lot of other areas where people are now taking advantage of the worker. And that is not what we're going to allow to continue in the state of New York. So I'm announced today that the task force has recovered $3 million stolen during the pandemic. That's for 265 workers who had their paychecks diminished because of greed of someone else. Their families were affected, and we're going to make them whole. So that's what. Since the inception of the task force, they've recovered over $11 million. These cases have resulted in felony convictions. If that's not a shot across the bow, a warning to employers, felony conviction. And also, I want to thank our Attorney General for the work that she did in recovering over $1 million. She spoke about this before. Those lives matter to us. Those individuals have been affected, and I want to thank her profoundly for her leadership on this, and again, bringing the resources and the clout of her office to bear. I also want to thank District Attorney Melinda Katz, who's one of our great partners. Her office has recovered over $1.5 million. Again, going back to the people who earned it and deserve it. So thank you, Melinda Katz, and many other partners across the state. And we're going to continue to expand this. Every district attorney's office should be engaged with us because we know and hear the complaints. We know what's going on. So these recovered wages are an important part of ensuring that New Yorkers get what they deserve. And one of the first bills I signed as governor this past Labor Day was to make sure that prime contractors on a construction site are responsible for violations or wage theft from their subcontractors. That's the first time that's ever been the case, and I want to thank. But we still have a way to go. We're not saying this is over. We're just telling people we're going to catch you if you do this. It's just not worth it. But we're also going to have a hotline. And we're going to double down on this hotline. You can see the number there. And remind people that wage theft is a crime. So if you are an individual, we want to get this word out, you are an individual who feels that your paycheck is not what it should be, or someone is just paying you under the table, that is not proper, that is not allowed, that is a violation of the law, that you have a hotline that you can call. We're also developing something brand new, a resource called the Worker Protection Management System. What is this? This way, individuals can file their complaints about wage theft and other complaints online in the privacy of their home. They can do it on their cell phone. They don't have to be worrying about filing burdensome paperwork. And so it'll modernize our worker protection efforts and make it easier for workers to submit claims and receive updates. I mean, nothing worse than filing a complaint and you think it goes into the black hole here and you never hear about it again, that we're going to have accountability. And I want to thank Roberta Reardon and the Department of Labor for innovating this, and we'll be announcing when that is available to everyone. Well, it'll also be available in multiple languages. As I mentioned, a lot of people take advantage of vulnerable populations. Our new Americans here, they don't have the understanding of what has happened to them, and we're going to protect them as well, and making sure that we take care of people's paychecks, we take care of the individuals, we take care of their families, because that's what we do here in New York State. And you have my word to all workers that we'll always have your back, we'll stand up for you, we'll protect you, because this is New York State. We're proud of the workforce we have, and we're going to make sure that we stand together to fight against this crime, wage theft, and say, not in New York, not now, not ever. So with that, I'd like to bring up our Attorney General to talk about her efforts as well. Thank you, Tish James, for being such a great partner, as we go forth. So thank you.
Thank you. Another round of applause to our governor. I want to thank Governor Hochul for bringing us all together this morning, and of course, I want to thank my very good friend, the Queens District Attorney Melinda Katz, and all of the other agencies in the Wage Theft Task Force. Of course, our great Labor Commissioner, Roberta Reardon, my other very good friend, State Senator Jessica Ramos, and of course to Gary LaBarbera, who is also a very good friend and president of the Building and Construction Trades Council of Greater New York, and to all of you. I see DC9, I see carpenters, I see IBEW3, I see steam fitters, I see heat and frost, and thank you for inviting me to your home, and to all of us who are here. So each and every day, hardworking New Yorkers move our state forward. But far too many of these workers are victims of exploitive and harmful workplace conditions. Conditions that steal their dignity, but more importantly, conditions that steal their wages. It is estimated that more than 2 million working New Yorkers are cheated out of over $3.2 billion in wages every year. $3.2 billion every year. That's money stolen from hardworking people and their families. That's money that people earn and depend on to put food on their table. And these workers often don't know that they're being cheated, or worse, they don't report it because they fear retaliation or termination. And they don't know that this really is a common crime. They don't know that there are avenues to report it, and that there are individuals who are prepared to fight for them, to stand up for them, to protect their rights. And that is why the work of this task force is so critically important, and the impact of our collective power has been so successful. In April of this year, my office partnered with the New York City Department of Investigation, and we recovered $900,000 for more than 200 workers who were underpaid by a company called Lintec Electric. From 2015 to 2018, Lintec failed to pay prevailing wage, and they submitted false payroll documents, all while working as a subcontractor at NYCHA, New York City Housing Authority. And because of our work in the Office of the Attorney General and the unrelenting mission of this task force, those workers will finally receive what they are owed. And that's just one of the many cases that my office is working on. In the past 2 years, my office has secured more than $15 million for over 15,000 workers who were denied their wages stolen from their pockets and their pocketbooks. Stolen wages. And it's really a demonstration of my office's commitment to rooting out illegal and shameful practices. But it's also a warning shot to all of those who think that they could steal from workers. Not under my watch, not as the Attorney General of this great state. It's my promise to all of you, and my promise to all of those who make New York City and New York State run. My promise to workers, individuals who make New York great. Whether you're a building superintendent, a construction worker, a grocery store clerk, a home health aide, whether you work at a construction site, a pizzeria, a hotel, a bar, or a car wash. Those are some of the cases that we've been involved with. It really doesn't matter. You deserve your fair and your full paycheck for your families. I will not allow anyone to steal money from your families. And I'm going to make sure that all of us work together to make sure that you are protected. And the next speaker is a very good friend who has also been working with us and is a part of the task force. She represents the great borough of Queens. She is the great district attorney of Queens. Please welcome Melinda Katz.
Let's hear it for Tish James, the Attorney General. You know, I love when we have cases that span the state. I'm like, call Tish, she'll take them. She is so strong in her advocacy and holding people accountable for what they are doing for the workers, and I appreciate that. You know, I've been around longer than most in this room. I hate to say that. It's been about 30 years that I've been doing this type of work and this type of job. I started when I was 10. To those of you that didn't laugh, be careful. We've been doing this a long time. And I will tell you that as I know from all of you, as I look out on your faces, I have heard the exact same thing every single time I've run for office, every single time I have held office. And that is, no one is paying attention to this work. Nobody is paying attention to the workers who are getting ripped off. We keep asking elected officials during election time, and then it turns out that when they're there, they say it's too big, or that it's too large, or it's too small for the individuals, or whatever it is. You now have a team who is together all across the state with district attorneys and with the Attorney General and with this great governor who has taken this and run with it in so many different ways, whether it's about wage theft, whether it's about employers taking advantage of undocumented immigrants, whether it is the fact that we need jobs that are built by trades throughout this state. And that's what leadership is about, taking the issues that are at hand, pulling the people together who can handle it, and making it move forward, not just talking about it. So Governor Hochul, thank you so much for your leadership in this. I want to thank Roberta Reardon, who really held us up during a very difficult time in this country and made sure that labor was not forgotten. I do want to thank Deputy Borough President Ebony Young, who is here today on behalf of Donovan Richards, work we do so much in Queens County. You know, we are working every single day to make sure that employers and contractors and everyone who is taking advantage of employees are held accountable. We've had several cases in Queens County. Most recently, as you heard from the governor, there was an employer who was not paying prevailing wage. And it took a long investigation and a lot of resources by the Bureau of Housing and Worker Protection, which I formed the day that I became the borough president under Bill Jorgensen, who is here. And they are long and hefty investigations. They're not easy. And it takes the task force to be able to help us do everything we need to do. And it takes the Attorney General to help us do every single thing we need to do. But out of that, the employer had to repay $1.5 million to those workers. I got to stand on the steps of the courthouse and give a $250,000 check to a worker out of the 11 of them because he had and this is not a gift. This is not a gift. He earned it. Every single day he came to work to feed his family and to make sure that he was following all his rules, and he did it. And by the way, we made the employer pay for the investigation as well, the $160,000 for the investigation as well. So I think it's important, as the governor was talking about and the Attorney General was talking about, that this partnership of the state standing together against employers, whether it's wage theft, whether we just pled out a case where where someone was selling fraudulent union cards at Local 79, and because of the task force that I formed with labor and with service employees, we were referred to from that case, and we found the person guilty. And we stopped illegal and fraudulent 79 cards from being sold. And we continue to do that with investigations every single day. We have dozens of investigations going on to make sure that employees are not taken advantage of. And Governor, I think the fact that you have a wage theft task force, wage theft task, could have thought of an easier name, wage theft task force line, a phone number that people can call so that they feel a little bit anonymous, even if they're not, so that they can report it when they have it, and that they can report it to the people that need to know about it, is so crucial. I have found that those lines are so crucial when it comes to people who don't feel like they have a voice. We've given them a voice, and I think that is amazing. So I appreciate the fact that we are moving forward, that we are holding people accountable, that we are making unscrupulous employers pay back the wages that they have stolen for people that do a day's work, because you deserve a day's pay for a day's work, and it has to fall within the law. And we thank all of the task force for doing that. I now have the pleasure of introducing a good friend for many years, the president of the Building Trades Building Trades Construction Council of New York State, Gary LaBarbera. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melinda. Well, first of all, I want to thank Governor Hochul. Governor, thank you so much for convening this event today and bringing to the forefront the issues of wage theft. So thank you for that. Obviously, Attorney General James, a longtime dear friend, thank you for all the work that you do for us every day, and in particular, your advocacy for workers. And I want to share, you know, I'm often amazed that the Attorney General has time to just pick up a phone once in a while and call and say, how's things going? Is everything okay? And so I thank you for that, and it is very much appreciated. Melinda Katz. Well, I know Melinda Katz for almost all of those 30 years. I'm 41, so we're pretty much the same age. But let me say, I do want to make this comment. I mean, when Melinda ran for district attorney in Queens, and we had many conversations, many times, she said to me, the first thing that I'm going to do is create a task force in the Queens district attorney's office with Bill Jorgensen, who's here today. And that's one of the first things she did. And many of the trades that are here today are a part of that task force. And I also obviously would like to acknowledge all the trades that are here today. I know that Tish James mentioned many. I know she didn't mention the iron worker, but she did mention, I think, pretty much everyone else that's here. But thank you all for being here. So let me just share a few of my thoughts real quickly. Much of what I'll say will be somewhat redundant. But the governor did mention going back to Labor Day. Remember the phone call I got from the governor regarding the signage on Labor Day of the Wage Protection Act, which she had mentioned was co-sponsored by, on the Senate side, by Labor Chair Jessica Ramos, who was with us, and on the Assembly side, Labor Chair Letitia Joyner. And the governor, in fact, did sign that Wage Protection Act, which, as she mentioned, held the prime contractors responsible. Oftentimes, in wage theft cases, the subcontractors are very, very hard to pin down. They actually go out of business. They create new LLCs just to avoid their obligations of paying workers that work for them. I want to also note that when that bill was signed into law and the years that it took to get that done, took about 2 years by the time we got it passed in the Senate and the Assembly, which is record time for Albany, I think we'd all agree. The state building trades and city building trades and all the building trades council at the state of New York, it was a priority to us. And, you know, I want to make a very important point, and this is kind of what I want to wrap it up with, to be candid with you, because I think everything has been said already. But I need to say this, that it was once again organized labor, and no one can tell me any different, that stood up for all workers in this state, not just for our members, not just for our industry. And in fact, in this case, and for all that were involved, the Wage Theft Protection Act and the issue of wage theft was a priority to the building trades unions throughout the state of New York, because we saw the impacts of this in the construction industry, recognizing that its impacts, there are other industries as well. But in the construction industry, we saw it all too often where employers made wage theft a part of their bidding strategy, as the governor mentioned, to give them a competitive advantage. And unfortunately, and the reality is the vast majority of workers that are exploited are from underserved communities and minorities. And that is completely unacceptable. It is unacceptable that any worker that goes to work and does not get paid for the work that they perform and their employer steals their money, it's unconscionable. We call them unscrupulous. But to think about people that are vulnerable, that are afraid to come forward for a myriad of reasons, to make that part of your strategy to exploit the most vulnerable, that is unacceptable. Well, it is unacceptable. And beyond unacceptable, it is disgraceful. And so I am so happy to be here today, again, with all of you, and certainly with the governor and the attorney general and the district attorneys, because today we are highlighting once again, and again, thank you again, Governor, the importance of respect and dignity in the workplace. And I will say this, and I hope everyone that sees this gets this message. The governor laid it out. So did both Tish James and Melinda Katz. Be aware that if you steal from your workers and you take advantage of your workers, You are going to get caught, you are going to pay, and they're going to get you.